Did you wake up today thinking that you really want to use a cup? No, because you are not insane. You wake up thirsty and then you used a cup. And that distinction sounds obvious. But many founders and investors ignore this completely and build or back the wrong thing as a result. This episode is about what a product actually is and why getting this right is the foundation of everything else. Welcome to Tech for Non-techies. This is a podcast for business leaders and non-technical founders building the future in the age of AI. Whether you've been in business for 100+ years and you're looking to modernize, or whether you're building something new, this is the show for you. You'll learn how to come up with new ideas and make them come to life, no matter the size of your organization. I've taught tech and innovation at Oxford University, advised companies like Microsoft, and written for the Harvard Business Review. You're going to hear the frameworks and the thinking that I've built and tested and taught at the highest level. And now, it's your turn. Let's get started. Hello, smart people. How are you today? Is the sun shining where you are? Are you having a fabulous vacation? Are you drinking too much rosé? I hope the answer is yes to at least some of those questions. Today, we're going to revisit a foundational concept that I want everybody to know. In fact, I am so obsessed with this concept that I'm actually considering advertising this episode just so more people hear it, but I don't think that's going to be the most commercially sound decision, so let's see. Anyway, the concept you'll learn today is the foundation to building new products and investing in them. So whether you are an innovator or an investor, buckle up. This episode originally came out in 2020 and it is actually one of my most popular episodes, and I want to make sure that you learn the concepts in it even if you haven't scrolled all the way back in the catalog. But before we get into this important lesson, here's a quick reminder. This summer, I've been offering free one-on-one consulting sessions with me, and through this, I've been able to meet many of you, and it has been fabulous. It's been really interesting to get to know what you're working on, which part of the world you're in, and your ambitions, and to help you as much as I can. And these sessions have been genuinely free. They haven't just been a sales call dressed up as something else. In these sample consulting sessions, we spend the bulk of our time together on the problem that you actually want to solve. So, book this session because whether you want to figure out what to build or how to position yourself as an innovator in your field so opportunities come to you, or how to get on the radar of the right investors, or how to go to market, or how to bring a new product to market inside a large company, or whatever else is on your mind that's relevant to this show, book your session because we are now in mid-August, which means that you literally have 2 weeks to book your session. I said that I was going to only do these for the summer, and I'm counting the end of August as the end of the summer. So you've got 2 weeks because after that is basically back to school and my diary is going to be filling up. And so I just don't know when I'm going to be able to do these things again. I want to make clear that at the end of the call, I will make you an offer to work with me, I'll make you an offer to work with me if I genuinely think I can help you with what you're working on. But there is absolutely no pressure to buy anything. And the point of this session is for you to get free consulting from the person whose podcast you listen to. So clearly, because you're here, my point of view interests you. And so this is your chance to apply it to your unique circumstance. Therefore, if you have heard things on this show and you're wondering how to apply them to your goals, book your session now and the link is in the show notes. And now let's get into today's lesson. Because once you understand this concept, you will never think about products, companies, or investments in the same way again. I realized that here on this podcast, we haven't actually defined what a product is. And that's a fundamental concept. It's a concept that we define in the non-technical founders course. So let's define it here before we continue, before we get into a model. So when you think of a product, what do you think of? Do you think of an app? Do you think of a site? Maybe you think of an algorithm. I mean, given that you're listening to a podcast called Tech for Non-techies, that would all be reasonable, but wrong. Such is life, my friends. So a product is a clearly identified solution to a people problem. So at the end of every single product, there is a person experiencing a problem. There is a person who essentially wants to do something. So for example, right now, I'm sitting at my desk and I'm a bit thirsty. I would like to take a sip of water. My thought process is focused on me and what I want. Yes, very selfish, but there we go. So I'm thinking about what I want. I'm not focused on glasses or on cups or on bottles. I am focused on the slightly dry feeling in my mouth, which I would like to get rid of. So you see how by definition, the solution is always secondary to the problem. Nobody wakes up thinking, today I really want to use a cup. What can I do today that requires me to use a cup? I mean, if that person does exist, they are in the crazy minority. And building a successful business on the needs of a tiny minority is very hard unless they're all startlingly rich. And if you know these really rich, crazy people, tell me where they are because they must have crazy parties and I would like to go. So when you're thinking about building tech products, keep coming back to the person and the problem that they're experiencing. It's so easy to lose yourself in ideas for new features or learning new tech skills. But, my dears, if you lose sight of the person, all those tech skills and all those features are going to be totally useless. So this is why I actually think that this is a really good area for non-technical founders or non-technical professionals to shine in the tech world. You won't necessarily need to know what coding language to use. You won't know what coding language to use. But if you know the users, you know who they are, and you know what they want, you know what problems they have, you are going to be in charge of a much more important skill set. You're going to have a much more holistic and important understanding of something that really matters. Another thing I want to point out is that a company can keep solving the same problem for the same person with different products. So essentially, just because you have a company and they have a product, it doesn't mean then that that product is the be-all and end-all. That company can carry on specializing in solving that problem. So essentially, that company's specialty is the solution to that problem rather than the product. And those companies tend to have more longevity. And so the people in a company that understand what problem they're solving and who they're solving it for and how to keep on coming back to the problem, they can keep on creating new products or new versions of the same product to keep on solving that problem. So a company like that is going to be focused on the user and their problem, not on the brilliance of their product. The brilliance of their products are just secondary to solving their problem. Okay, so let's have a look at Facebook. Facebook began as a website. Some of you may remember that in the olden days, you had to connect to a digital camera to upload photos. And oh my God, what does this say about humanity? I mean, I remember doing this. I remember taking photos at parties, then hooking them up to my digital camera, and these were unfiltered. Anyway, so I'll be hooking up my digital camera to the computer, then uploading them onto my computer, and then uploading them on Facebook. That must have taken ages. I mean, we can't even imagine doing that now. So anyway, that's how Facebook began. And look at Facebook today. And I'm not even talking about all the acquisitions that Facebook made. I'm not talking about WhatsApp. I'm not talking about Oculus or Instagram. I'm literally talking about Facebook. So right now, Facebook is also a site. There is a mobile app. There is a messenger. So the aim of Facebook was originally to connect people. The products that Facebook has are solving the same problem. So I was on Facebook when it originally started, and I'm on Facebook now. I use it in a similar-ish way. So there's now a Facebook app, a mobile site, and a messenger. The aim is the same, and some of the people, not all of the people, but some of the people with the same problem are also the same people. By the way, I want you to know that I'm not singing Facebook's praises. The company has many, many problems, and I am probably going to do an episode on that because I've recently come up against some really startling things that I want to share with you guys so you kind of understand what kind of beast Facebook is. Actually, in the non-technical founders course, one of the things we do is we break down the Facebook newsfeed algorithm to understand essentially why you get served the content that you do. We don't break down all of it, otherwise, it would be there forever. We just break down the main components. But anyway, Facebook is a very powerful company. It has not used much of its power responsibly. But the reason why I often talk about Facebook as an example is because it has so many products that so many of us are familiar with. So if you want to understand a particular product, it's very easy for me to give Facebook as an example. And in this case, I'm using Facebook as an example to show you how a solution to the same problem evolves, so you can understand what products are. So, what are products? A product is a solution to a people problem. By the way, a company can also be a product. So, Steve Jobs said that Apple, the company, was actually his greatest invention, not the inventions that came out of Apple, which, considering that they made the iPhone, the iPod, the App Store, the Mac, they had a lot of inventions. So it's interesting that this is what Steve Jobs chose. So I think it's important, especially for the person who left me that review, because he says he is an investor. So for the investors in the audience, I think it's important to remember that companies are also products, because companies buy companies. Why do they do that? They do that because a company has a problem to solve. So, for example, Walmart realizes that it has a problem in e-commerce, in that it doesn't really do e-commerce. Amazon does e-commerce. Walmart is not going to buy Amazon. Walmart needs to solve that problem, and Walmart can't build a competitor to Amazon quickly. So what does it do? It needs to buy one. So that's why Walmart paid $3.3 billion to acquire Jet.com in 2016. That little noise was just me wishing I had $3.3 billion. Anyway, so let's go back to the fundamentals. When you are thinking of products, just keep on coming back to the person and their problem. And that person could be a user for whom you're solving the problem. So it could literally be, I am thirsty. My mouth is a bit dry. I would like to have a drink of water. How am I going to solve that problem? I'm going to solve that problem with a glass. That is a problem. The glass is the product. That's the solution. The solution could also be a tech solution. Most of my friends are in other parts of Europe, in the UK, and in the US. So I need to connect to them via technology. What am I going to do? One of the things I do is connect to them via Facebook. A company is also a solution to a people problem, because there are people working in marketing or people working in sales who basically understand that their company and therefore their jobs and their profit margins and their ability to earn is not going to be that good unless they find a solution to that problem. So they look for a company to invest in or to buy. So remember not to focus on the product. If you're an investor, don't just think about synergies. If you're making a tech product, don't just think about features. That's just noise around the main point. So this week, when you interact with apps and things in your home, think about the problem that they're solving for you. And just literally just run that thought experiment and just see what that inquiry leads to. Maybe you will end up seeing competition in ways that you hadn't seen before. Because, for example, Uber's competitors aren't just other taxi apps. Uber's competitors also involve Feed or Netflix, potentially. So when you're interacting with things in your home or on your phone or on your computer, just think about what problem that thing is solving for you. And just see what happens. And this, my dear smart person, is the concept that everything else builds on. The person and the problem always come first. The product is just the solution. And the product changes because the solution changes. If today's episode made you think differently about what you are building or investing in, and you want to figure out what that means for your specific goal and for your specific situation, that's exactly what we can use the sample consulting session for. So book it. Come with your idea, your product, your career goal, or your investment question, and we will work on it. We'll spend the bulk of an hour figuring out what the real problem is, who the decision makers are, who the problem is the biggest for, and what you can do about it. And this is literally product thinking in practice, and that is the 21st century career success skill set. And you've got 2 weeks left to book your session. So basically, if you are listening to this after the 31st of August 2026, these sessions are probably no longer happening. I mean, try the link, be opportunistic. Maybe we haven't switched it off, maybe you'll get through, but it's frankly very unlikely that's going to happen. So you've got 2 weeks left to book your session, so go ahead now. The link is in the show notes. And on that note, have a wonderful day, and I shall be back in your delightful smart ears next week. Ciao.